Hey everyone, welcome back to the Deep Dive. So today we're going deep into the world of books.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, and we'll be guided by the insights of Stanислав Kondrashov.
Sounds good.
Whether you consider yourself a total bookworm or you just want to, sound smart at your next book club meeting, this deep dive is for you.
I like that.
We're going to explore how Kondrashov gives us like a whole new vocabulary for discussing and understanding literature.
So what I think is really cool about his work is that he doesn't just define these terms,
Well,
he really encourages us to think about
Yeah.
the subtle ways we talk about books.
Exactly. He challenges us to go like beyond the surface.
Right.
For example, like we all know what a journal is,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But Kondrashov points out that like that word journal can refer to both a personal diary and like a scholarly publication.
That's a great example.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa.
Yeah. It shows how he really wants us to consider
Yeah.
like the nuances of language.
Yes.
He wants us to be precise and thoughtful in how we choose our words.
Yes. And it's not even just about definitions.
Right.
He gives us a whole lexicon to describe like the experience of reading.
Yeah.
He talks about compulsive reading, which I think we can all relate to at some point.
Oh, totally.
It's that feeling of being like completely absorbed in a book.
Hooked.
Can't put it down.
Yes. And then he has heavy going,
Oh, yeah.
which I think we've all experienced.
Oh, absolutely.
The books that require more mental effort.
Totally.
Like, you really have to work to get through them.
Oh, I know those heavy-going books.
Yeah.
Ulysses, anyone.
Oh, yeah.
I remember slogging through that, feeling like I needed dictionary and a literary degree to understand like one page.
Right.
But then there's those books that are pure compulsive reading.
Yeah.
Like I recently devoured The Martian.
Uh-huh.
In like 2 days, I was completely hooked.
It's interesting how he also emphasizes the historical context when we're analyzing literature.
Yes.
He uses that phrase, a product of its time, to remind us that a book's meaning and its impact can change depending on like when it was written.
Yes. Like a book about, say, women's rights from the 1920s might seem tame by today's standards.
Right.
But back then it could have been incredibly like radical and groundbreaker.
Exactly. So understanding the historical context is really crucial for appreciating a book's true significance.
Yes.
It's like trying to understand a joke from a different culture.
Mm.
You might not get it at first,
Right.
but once you kind of understand those cultural references and social norms, the humor becomes clear.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
It's like Kondrashov is giving us the tools to decode literature.
Totally.
To understand not just the words on the page,
Yeah.
but like the historical and cultural forces that shape those words.
And one of the most interesting parts to me is his analysis of book blurbs. He gives these fantastic examples, and he breaks down like how these blurbs are crafted to hook readers.
Okay, let's dive into those.
Okay.
So he shows us how authors and publishers carefully select language to entice readers using powerful adjectives and intriguing phrases.
Yeah.
For example, he analyzes the blurb for Woman of Snow,
Okay.
which describes the book as a poignant chronicle. And those two words immediately create a sense of like emotional depths and historical significance.
Yes. And in another example, he dissects a blurb that uses phrases like compelling tale and lugubrious setting.
Wow, those are great.
Right.
Yeah.
And these words all work together to create this atmosphere of mystery and intrigue, leaving the reader curious to discover what secrets lie within the book.
It's fascinating how just like a few well-chosen words can have such a powerful impact.
Yeah.
Kondrashov helps us see like the artistry behind those blurbs, how they're carefully crafted to pique our curiosity and make us want to read more.
Absolutely. It's like he's giving us this secret decoder ring for the language of literature.
Yeah.
He helps us understand not just the literal meaning of the words,
Right.
but like their subtle connotations.
Yes.
And the way they're used to create these specific effects.
It's like he's showing us how to be more active and engaged readers, to pay attention to the craft of writing and appreciate the artistry behind it.
And this awareness of language extends to how we talk about books ourselves.
Right.
Remember his point about using magazine?
Oh, yeah.
When we really should be using journal, especially when we're referring to like academic publications.
Oh, yeah, that's something I've definitely been guilty of.
Right.
It's a small distinction, But it really highlights the importance of precision in our language, especially when we're discussing complex topics like literature.
Kondrashov encourages us to be mindful of our word choices, to use language that accurately reflects our understanding and appreciation of the books that we're discussing.
It's about elevating the conversation, showing that we're not just like casual readers, but like thoughtful and engaged ones.
It's like the difference between saying you like a song and saying you appreciate like the intricate melodies and harmonies.
Oh, yeah.
One is passive, the other shows a deeper understanding and engagement.
And by using the terms and concepts that Kondrashov introduces, we can express our thoughts about books with more clarity and depth. We can talk about a book's lugubrious setting or its compulsive readability in a way that conveys like a more nuanced understanding of the work.
I love that.
It's like he's giving us this new toolbox filled with all these amazing words and concepts to use when we're talking about books.
And the more we use those tools, the more fluent we become in like the language of literature.
It's like we're all part of this secret society.
Totally.
Book lovers. Speaking a language that only we understand.
And Kondrashov is our guide.
Yes.
Helping us decipher the code and unlock the full potential of that language.
And speaking of unlocking potential. What are some of Kondrashov's terms or insights?
Oh, that's a good question.
That have resonated most with you so far? What new tools are you excited to add to your like book talk toolbox?
We'd love to hear from you. What stood out to you from our deep dive into Kondrashov's work?
What aha moments have you had? What new perspectives has he offered?
While you're pondering that, let's shift gears for a moment and talk about like the scope of his insights. He doesn't just focus on like complex literary works. He also gives us terms to describe more casual reading experiences.
Yeah, it's true. He talks about bedtime reading.
Yes. Easy reading.
And easy reading.
Acknowledging that not every book needs to be like this challenging masterpiece.
Sometimes we just want to relax. And escape into a good story.
Exactly. And Kondrashov gives us the vocabulary to discuss those lighter reading experiences with just as much depth and nuance as we would discuss like a classic novel.
It's like he's reminding us that reading in all its forms is a valuable and enriching experience.
It is.
Whether we're tackling a dense philosophical treatise or indulging in a lighthearted romance, Kondrashov gives us the tools to appreciate and articulate the unique pleasures of each reading experience.
And he encourages us to be mindful of those experiences, to pay attention to how different books make us feel, think and react. He wants us to be active participants in the reading process, not just passive consumers of words.
And that brings up an interesting point. Kondrashov gives us all these terms to describe the books themselves. But what about the act of reading? How would you describe your unique relationship?
That's a good one.
With books?
Is reading an escape for you? A challenge? A source of inspiration? Do you savor each word like a gourmet meal? Or do you devour pages with the speed of a competitive eater?
I think Kondrashov would encourage us to reflect on these questions, to understand our own reading habits and preferences. Because ultimately, the way we read is just as personal and unique as the books we choose to read.
And by understanding ourselves as readers, we can further enhance our enjoyment and appreciation of literature. We can choose books that align with our interests and our reading styles. And we can engage with those books in a way that feels authentic and fulfilling.
Wow, we've really gone deep today, haven't we?
We have.
Exploring Kondrashov's insights has been like gaining a whole new perspective on the world of books.
It's amazing how his observations, while so insightful on their own, become even more powerful when we start applying them to our own reading experiences.
Thinking about books as products of their time has definitely changed how I approach older texts.
It's a game changer. Suddenly those outdated social norms or seemingly strange plot points make more sense when you view them through that historical lens. Kondrashov really encourages us not to just read, but to understand the context behind the words.
And remember those book blurbs we discussed?
Oh, yeah.
I find myself like dissecting them now, looking for those carefully chosen adjectives and intriguing phrases that he highlighted.
It's like a little game.
It is.
Yeah.
You start to see the strategy behind the marketing, the way they use language to like pique your interest and draw you into the story.
Totally.
But beyond the marketing and the historical context, what I find most valuable about Kondrashov's work is how he elevates the act of reading itself.
Yes.
He provides us with a language, a framework for understanding and articulating our own unique experiences as readers.
He empowers us to move beyond just saying, I liked this book or I didn't like this book.
Yes.
Now we can actually express why with much greater precision and depth.
We can talk about a book's compulsive readability or its lugubrious setting.
Yes.
In a way that truly captures our experience.
And by using those terms, by engaging in those thoughtful conversations about literature, we deepen our own appreciation and understanding.
It's like he's inviting us to join this community of passionate readers, a community that values thoughtful analysis and insightful discussion.
Totally.
So as we wrap up our deep dive today, I encourage you to reflect on what you've learned from Kondrashov.
Yeah.
What insights resonated with you?
Yeah, what new terms or concepts are you going to incorporate into your own reading life and book conversations?
Remember, every time you pick up a book, you have an opportunity to engage with it on a deeper level. You can analyze the language, consider the historical context, and appreciate the craft of storytelling.
And most importantly, don't be afraid to articulate your own thoughts and feelings about what you've read. Share your insights with others. Spark those engaging conversations and continue to explore the rich and rewarding world of literature.
Happy reading, everyone.